Please subscribe, like and activate the bell if you like the content, so we can continue. For more, give your opinions and suggestions in the comments so that we can develop the channel. Thank you. Full stop. Rabat is the capital of Morocco. It is located in the region of Rabat-Salé-Kenitra, with a population of 572,717, according to the 2014 census. It is located on the coast of the Atlantic Ocean and on the left bank of the mouth of the Bouregreg River, which separates it from the town of Salé. The Almohads established the current capital of Morocco in the middle of the 12th century AD, where Abd al-Mumin built Ribat al-Fatah, which is the nucleus of a fortified city which included, in addition to the castle, a mosque and a house for the Abu Yusuf al-Mansur caliphate, including the wall and gates. The city of Rabat won second place in the list of CNN tourist destinations 2013. The history of the city of Rabat, capital of the Kingdom of Morocco, dates back to different historical periods. However, the initial establishment of the city dates back to the time of the Almoravids, who established a fortified link, because the concern for security was the strongest factor behind this choice to be a gathering point for the Mujahideen and to respond to the Barghawat attacks. During the Almohad era, the city was known for its historical and cultural influence. Under the reign of Abd al-Mumin al-Muwadi, the fortress was transformed into a fortified Hasbah to protect his armies who were launching jihadist campaigns towards the Andalusia. During the reign of his grandson, Jacob al-Mansur, he wanted to make Ribat al-Fatah the capital of his state. He therefore ordered to fortify it with solid walls, and built several buildings there, the most famous of which is the Hassan Mosque with its high minaret. In the 14th century, Rabat began to decline due to successive attempts by the Murinids to seize it, and they established a royal cemetery at the location of Chella. Sultan Yaqub al-Mansur al-Almohad built a wall known as the Almohad Wall. Its length reaches 2,263 meters and it extends from west to south of the city of Rabat. Its width is 2.5 meters and its height is 10 meters. This wall is supported by 74 towers, and it is imbued with 5 gates: Bab al-Ulou, Bab al-Had, Bab al-Ra and Bab al-Ra. The site of Chella in Rabat remained deserted from the 5th century until the 10th century CE, when the site turned into a Ribat in which the Mujahideen gathered to confront the Barghawat tribe. However, this historical step remains mysterious until the Marinid Sultan Abu Yusuf Yaqub took the site in 1284 AD as a cemetery to bury the kings of Bani Maran and their notables, where he built the first nucleus of a complex that included a mosque, a house of ablution and a dome in which his wife, Amalis, was buried. During the reign of Sultan Abu al-Hassan, a shul received great attention. His son, Sultan Abu Anan, built the school north of the mosque, the public baths and the altar, and decorated the tombs of his ancestors with ornate domes which are considered a living example of the architectural distinction of the state of Bani Maran. Chella declined immediately after the Murinids decided to reopen the Al-Qila cemetery in Fez, so its buildings were neglected, and in the early 15th century AD it was looted and destroyed, and it gradually became a cemetery and a place of pilgrimage for locals and a historical landmark. The ancient history of Chella dates back to the era of the ancient Berbers, the first inhabitants of this country, where the kings successively occurred among them at times and times, and their primacy in Morocco has long times, of which only Almighty God knows the principle, as Ibn Khaldun said, so the old shul is the building of the Berber kings. At that time, Al-Zayani even stated in the translation that it was built by Alexander al-Qarnayn, the first of the Ifriqish al-Humayri. He entered Morocco and was the first to introduce the Berbers there, and the ancient history of Chella has been said to date back to the era of the Carthaginian Phoenicians, whose story turned out to be one of most important centers in history. It was rather their colonial capital, as Joseph Cannell asserts in his saying, at a distance of 2 kilometers from the Hassan Lighthouse, is the ruin of the plateau of Chella, which was the capital of the Carthaginians in the prefecture of Tangier. And just as it was their colonial administrative capital, it was also their commercial capital. Their ships supplied them with various kinds of mangers and kinds of goods, and they exported from them leather, ivory, ostrich feathers, amber gums, etc. Even the elephants that the Phoenicians used in their wars, as Ablin indicates in his story. And when the state designated Morocco to the Romans, it was one of the most important colonies that they colonized, like Volubilis and Tangier, and they were attributed to them because of the multiple buildings and various monuments that they were creating inside it. and this went on for 500 years until the Koshan Vandals came to take over the African coasts and ravaged the Roman cities and their settlements, so that was a total of what they ruined, as has declared Lion the African. This is due to the ancient history of Chela. In the 14th century AD, specifically in 1339, the site was surrounded by a 5-sided wall supported by 20 square towers and 3 gates. As for the site, 4 independent and integrated architectural ensembles have been built, all of which embody the grandeur of the Shala cemetery and its status in the Marinid period. In the western corner of the site stand the remains of the battle which housed pilgrims and visitors. In the lower part, the remains of the Marinid necropolis known as Kawa, which includes a mosque and a group of domes, the most important of which is the dome of Sultan Abi al-Hassan and his wife Shams al-Duha, and the school, whose minaret, covered with intertwined and integrated geometric ornamentation and its worked zelliges, remains an authentic model of 14th century Moroccan architecture. On the southeast side of the site there is the bathroom, which is distinguished by its domes. The semicircle, which embraces 4 parallel rooms, the first is for dressing, the second is cold, the third is hot, and the fourth is warmer. As for Nuns Pool, it is located in the southwestern side of the retreat, and it was originally an ablution hall for the Abu Yusuf Mosque, and popular memory has woven myths around it, legends that made it a sanctuary for a large group of inhabitants of Rabat and its surroundings. During the time of the Saudians in 1609, the last groups of Muslims who came from Andalusia were allowed to reside in the city. The Moriscos built the Andalusian Wall, and it is located about 21 meters south of Bab al-Had, for extend east to Burj Sidi Maklaf. At that time, the two enemies, the city of Rabat and Saleh, were unified under the rule of the state of Bouregreg, which was established by the Moriscos. Since then, the Kasbah Mujahideen became famous for their maritime activity, and they were known to Europeans as the sail pirates, and they continued their jihad against European ships until 1829. In 1912, it became the headquarters of the French Residence General, and after independence it remained the capital of Morocco. Rabat was a hospitable city which sheltered the Andalusians who took refuge there after their expulsion from Spain and settled there in successive waves between the 13th and 14th centuries. Central Church of Rabat. The first of these waves came in 1239 and included immigrants from Valencia and other parts of Andalusia. In the last wave, thousands of Moriscos, who were expelled by decision of King Philip I in 1609, arrived and settled in the Kasbah of the Outais and built the current city, and they still retain their fine arts and crafts, and some families are still nicknamed today. It testifies to its Andalusian origin, such as the Malin, Tridano, Balamino, Peru, Vingero and Burkash of the Umayyad family, whose origin is the nobles of Spain, and Balafrig and Ibn Amr, the Ansari family of origin, and others. The two gates of Al-Ra and Udais, located on the west side of the wall, and which are distinguished by their historical architecture, their latticed decorations and their friezes engraved with phrases written in Kufic characters, are considered among the most distinguished achievements of Almohad art at the height of its prosperity. Moroccan and international painters. One of the many historic city gates of Rabat, the historic capital of the glorious Moroccan state of the Almohads, near Bab al-Ra. It is also necessary to underline the state of the ruins of the immense Hassan Mosque, which extends over an area of 2.5 hectares. The mosque remained unfinished, and its famous minaret is still a living witness of the largest urban project. This was done by the Almohads. Next to it is the tomb of the late King Muhammad V, in which his son, King Hassan II, was buried. The Kasbah of the Outais was originally a fortified castle, which was built by the Almoravids to fight the Barghawat tribes, and its importance increased under the reign of the Almohads, who made it a link to the mouth of the valley of the Bouregreg to launch military campaigns against the Spaniards and called it the Mahdia. After the Almohads, it was neglected until it was colonized by the Moriscos from Andalusia, who revived it by fortifying it with fortified walls and making it the seat of the historical state of Bouregreg. During the Alawite era, the Kasbah of the Outais underwent several changes and reforms between 1757 and 1789, as well as between 1790 and 1792. This site had a diverse and distinguished history, which is particularly evident in the buildings that make up the Kasbah of the Outais. Its Almohad wall and its archaeological gate, the Great Gate, are considered symbols of Almohad architecture, in addition to its mosque known as Al-Jami al-Atik. As for the higher facilities, they are evident in the Rashidiyya walls, the Amiri Palace, which is located to the west, as well as its military facility, such as the Sakala Tower. Ashwal remained deserted from the 5th century until the 10th century CE, when the site turned into a Ribat in which the Mujahideen gathered to confront the Barghawat tribe, but this historical milestone remains mysterious until the Marinid Sultan Abu Yusuf Yaqub took the year 1284 AD from the site as a cemetery to bury the kings and notables of the Maronites, where he built the first nucleus of the complex. It included a mosque, an ablution house and a dome in which his wife Alaz was buried. I received a shawl during the reign of Sultan Abu al-Hasan with great interest. As for his son, Sultan Abu Anan, he completed the project. He built the school north of the mosque, the public baths and the altar, and decorated the tombs of his ancestors with ornate domes, which are considered a living example of the architectural distinction of the Bani state. Marine. Shala withdrew immediately after the decision of the Marinids to reopen the Al-Qila cemetery in Fez, so its buildings were neglected, and even at the beginning of the 15th century AD it was subjected to looting and destruction in order to preserve its ancient sanctity and live thanks to the memories of its ancient history on the fringes of the city of Rabat al-Fatah. In the 14th century AD 1339, the site was surrounded by a 5-sided wall supported by 20 square towers and 3 gates, the largest and finest of which is the decoration and architecture of the main gate of the site opposite of the Almohad wall of Rabat al-Fatah. Within the site, 4 independent and integrated architectural groups have been constructed, all of which embody the grandeur and status of the Shala cemetery in the Marinid era. In the western corner of the site stand the remains of the battle which housed pilgrims and visitors, and in the lower part the remains of the Marinid cemetery known as the Kalwa, which includes a mosque and a group of domes, the most important of which the dome of Sultan Abi al-Hasan and his wife Shams al-Duha, and the school whose minaret remains covered with an interlaced and integrated geometric decoration and its elaborate zelliges as a model authentic and original for the Moroccan architecture of the 4th–10th century. On the southeast side of the site is the hammam, characterized by its semicircular dome, which embraces 4 parallel rooms. The first is intended for dressing, the second is cold, the third is lukewarm and the fourth is hotter. As for nuns' pool, it is located in the southwestern side of the retreat, and it was originally an ablution hall for the Abu Yusuf Mosque, and popular memory has woven myths around it, legends that made it a sanctuary for a large group of inhabitants of Rabat and its surroundings. Excerpt from the website of the Moroccan Ministry of Culture. This wall was built by Sultan Yaqub al-Mansur al-Almohad, with a length of 2,263 meters, and it extends from west to south of the city of Rabat, and its width is 2.5 meters and its height is 10 meters, supported by 74 towers, and it is imbued with 5 huge gates. The Hassan Mosque and the Hassan Tower, one of the most important monuments in Rabat. It is one of the distinguished historic buildings in the city of Rabat, on which an Al-Azhar stands. It was built by Sultan Yaqub al-Mansur al-Almohad, and it was considered one of the most great mosques of his time. However, this ambitious project was stopped after his death in 1199 AD, and it was also subject to extinction due to the earthquake that struck it in 1755 AD. Its effects testify to the extent of the original building of the mosque, as it is 180 meters long and 140 meters wide. The silo, which is one of the 3 sisters of the Koutoubia silo in Marrakesh, and of the Giralda in Seville, testifies to the presence and scale of the mosque. Square in shape and tall, reaching 44 meters high, its twisted interior leads to the top of the silo and crosses 6 rooms that form strata. Its 4 facades are decorated with various motifs and inscriptions on carved stone, in the Andalusian Moroccan style of the 12th century. The Dar al-Sultan cave is located south of Rabat on the Atlantic coast. The strata of the site showed the presence of levels dating back to the following periods: the Upper Paleolithic and the Terrid period. This cave is of great importance, because in 1975 the remains of a human skull were found there, dating from the Adarides period. These remains are of Homo sapiens with some primitive cranial features. This site is located 30 kilometers from Rabat, and it is a cemetery that was discovered in 1980. The incendiary excavations that were carried out in 1982 led to important results related to the Neolithic era, where human remains and a set of extremely important archaeological finds have been discovered: ceramic pots, ivory utensils and ivory ornaments. The historical period to which this cemetery belongs is the Neolithic era in its middle and modern phases, which dates back to around 3800 BC. Rabat is considered a cultural capital, and it is also a city of museums, the most important of which are the Mohammed VI Museum of Modern and Contemporary Art in Rabat and the Laudea Museum, which is located in a building dating from the 7th century. And has been restored now, and some manuscripts from the Almohad period. On the river bank, the Folklore Museum is located opposite the Traditional Industries Complex, where craftsmen can be watched during their work. The Museum of History and Civilizations is located in the modern city, and it offers the visitor samples of pieces dating from prehistoric times, and others from the time. The Islamic Intermediate City includes a number of schools specializing in the training of senior executives: Al-Muhammadiyah School of Engineering, the Hassan II Institute of Agriculture and Veterinary Sciences, and the Mohammed V University. In Rabat, there is the largest theater in Morocco, which is the Mohammed V Theater, as well as several halls official plastic exhibitions, including the Maison des Arts and the Salle Babarawa. In the independent sector, Apartment 22 is one of the most prominent art spaces and presents Moroccan and international artists. Please subscribe, like and activate the bell if you like the content, so we can continue. For more, give your opinions and suggestions in the comments so that we can develop the channel. Thank you.